All right. Welcome to a special Thanksgiving after dinner edition where we're going to go over the player pools for Friday and Saturday slates on DK. I've been playing around a little bit with FanDuel stuff, but man, it's a little weird. It's a little wonky and it's a little weird. Friday slate definitely awkward on both ends. But let's break this thing down. Pretty condensed pools this week on both sites, given that we have less games for the most part on DK, given the Friday and Saturday slates. So let's jump right into this thing. I got one core play quarterback this week. I'm all in on this. I'm probably going to have a good chunk of him, and we'll see what I end up building tomorrow in live before lock. But Gunnar Stockton, his mobility is underrated. And we kind of saw what Mason Heinchel was able to do to this Georgia Tech defense last week. Georgia's projected to score 36.5 in this one. I'm going to prefer to play this thing through Stockton rather than playing it through Chauncey Bowens or Nate Frazier. Nate Frazier always one fumble away from losing his job at any point in time. So I'm super interested in Stockton. He's going to be the one core option for me. He's the guy I'm most comfortable with, even though he does not project. He projects probably behind 5 or 6 other guys as far as points per dollar goes, and he's not even he's the third highest projected quarterback for me this week for this slate in particular. Price tag's fine. I don't mind it. I think the upside is through the roof for 3 to 4 touchdowns, and I like his stack partners and the way that this game sets up for him with Georgia Tech trying to win this thing and kind of recoup from where they were. But that defense has been getting absolutely torched for the last few weeks. So top tournament options for me. I think Drew Mestamaker is a very good pivot. If you're not familiar with Caleb Hawkins, the running back, we're going to talk about him in a bit, but that kid's an absolute stud. And Mestamaker's kind of been down because of it, right? Hawkins has taken a ton of his touchdown equity. He's not a mobile quarterback. They throw the football well. You got all the news around them with Eric Moore's going to, it's Eric Moore. Eric Moore's going to Oklahoma State. So with the coach leaving, they're fighting for a berth in the AAC title game. You got them probably fighting for a berth in the college football playoff. So you got all those things surrounding them. So that kind of takes him away from the core category. Years past, this would have been a smash at 8,300. But with the running capability of this offense, I've been hearing it in my chats all year. Not this chat, but the Discord and stuff, that they've been driving them insane that Mestamaker's not been finding the end zone enough. But he's always live for 4 touchdowns and 300 yards passing. He can break a slate just with his passing ability, and he's able to find the end zone with his rushing. I do remember him in that bowl game last year, rip it off like a 60-yard run. Not quite his forte. We're just going to hope for positive rushing yardage. Maybe he finds the box once, but his upside is right up there with Stockton. I just slightly prefer Stockton personally in this spot, but I will be taking shots on Mestamaker, and I like that game the best on the entire slate with the Temple North Texas to be the most likely game to shoot out, and it's the game I like to stack the most in this one. Second guy, I was reading some stuff that one of my other buddies does, and he didn't even mention him in his write-up, which was funny. He did talk about Kamari Moulton for Iowa. I think Gronowski's a better play. Points per dollar wise, Gronowski is one of the best plays on the slate, in my opinion. Probably the best points per dollar option from a quarterback standpoint. I like the rushing upside. If you really look into it, Nebraska's kind of struggled stopping the run a little bit. They've given up 22 rushing touchdowns on the season. They're like one of the bottom teams as far as rushing yards allowed in the Big Ten. So, yes, that could lead you to Kamari Moulton. I think it leads you to Gronowski, actually. He's not going to throw the football well. We're kind of just hoping for more than 100 yards and it's passing. Maybe he finds the end zone once or twice through the air. That'd be great. Uh, but if he can give me somehow, some way, 70 yards on the ground with a touchdown, and he's found the end zone a lot this season. There's what last week was the first time all year he did not have a rushing touchdown. So if he can just find the end zone and give me 18 plus, I feel okay with it. I feel perfectly happy with it at 6K. But I think there's upside for 29 in 25, 29 for him to get to 4 to 6X. And the value of what he saves me is underrated given the context of this slate and the bad offenses that are littered throughout it and the lower scoring games that there could be. Like, yeah, this isn't going to be a shootout game, but it's his rushing that gives me a good floor that I feel pretty good about taking chances here, even though he does not, he projects pretty daggone decent, but 18 points is kind of what I'm looking for and what I expect in this spot. So one injury news thing that I want to look at, I'm just going to highlight the team because I've been trying to build around this all week. Obviously, my original lineup had Darius Curry. I had a lot of interest in him. I think Arizona State's an absolutely abysmal defense that can get taken advantage of through the air, left, right, and center. So I was going to like Curry, and I was really going to like Rocky Beers on top of it. Then I had to find out that this dummy spit on somebody and is suspended for the game. So lovely. Now I'm left with Jackson Brousseau, who's questionable, and I would never want to play at 6,400, 0.0% chance. I'm kind of hoping he's out, mainly for FanDuel purposes. Mainly, this is why I haven't built FanDuel teams because I've been trying to figure out how I wanted to do it. Because Taj Bullock, you all may have never heard of him. I understand if you haven't. But at 5,400, I'd have interest here. I wouldn't love him as much on DK, but I'm willing to take shots. He's a very talented runner. He can run. He previously played at Akron. Can't really throw the ball particularly well. They've used him in run packages this season, but not a great thrower. I don't love him on DK. He's not my favorite. I'd take shots, but he's 5,500 on FanDuel, and man, would I love to be able to have that free square because of his rushing ability. Like, if he gives me somehow 20 points on FanDuel, it is a smash. So I think there's a legit possibility that he gets a rushing touchdown in this one, runs the ball fairly well. Maybe he could throw for 150. Maybe he can replicate what I expect out of Gronowski, and I'd be pumped for that on FanDuel at 5,500 because Gronowski's 92 on there. So I'm getting him kind of for half off. It's a Black Friday deal on Taj Bullock over here, but he is not great. So do not expect him to be great. I'm willing to take a chance here and there. I doubt I end up with him specifically because of the 5,400 price tag in this particular Friday kickoff tournament. But I'm kind of keeping a very close eye on Taj Bullock news for that purpose. All right, we got to talk about two guys. These are the two highest projected quarterbacks on the slate, and I'm not going to play either one. I'm playing limited lineups. I just don't want to build too much stuff. I kind of want to concentrate on what I have and mainly build for Saturday for the most part because I like that slate a lot more. I'm not going to play Haynes King because he's priced too expensively. And yes, he's the number one projected quarterback on the slate for me. I'm still not going to play him. I just have too much concern. I know he can get 29, 30 points. He's going to run the heck out of the football. Maybe I'm tempted to try to figure out a game stack in this one, but he has no stack partners. You're really just playing him naked, and he's probably going to have to throw for 3+ in order to get there. I mean, I guess you could go Malik Rutherford. I mean, this is a different animal than any defense he's faced. Maybe he gets 20, 25 points. Probably does because that's kind of his floor every week. But that's not going to cut it with these other guys. I think Stockton can far outperform him from a passing, rushing upside. This thing could easily get sideways. I have a bet on Georgia Tech anyway to win this thing. So if they do, then King's going to pay me out either way, I guess, is the way I'll look at it. But for the most part, I don't particularly want to play Haynes King. I'm not seeking it out, that's for sure. The other guy who projects extremely well, and he's the best points per dollar projected quarterback on the slate, but I'm not playing him, is Devin Dampier. Yes, he had a great game last week. Fully understand that. Playing Kansas. Terrible defense. I don't trust him because Bird Ficklen's getting too many carries around the goal line, and that kind of goes to the Wayman Jordan conundrum. There's too much problems with this play. If Bird Ficklin didn't exist, I'd be more in on Dampier, much more in. But look at the Baylor game. This is a very similar game to this Baylor game, and he just didn't have to do anything. Like Ficklin runs for 150 and 3 touchdowns. Wayshawn Parker, excuse me, Wayman Jordan's supposed to be back this week for USC. Wayshawn Parker could run for 100 plus because he's been doing it every week. And then next thing you know, Dampier's not getting anything. Ryan Davis is out, so he lost his number 1 wide receiver. I just do not want to pay 8,200. I'd rather pay Mestamaker right there 10 times out of 10. So I'm not going to play Devin Dampier. I know that for a fact. Might be willing to take shots on Haynes King. But rest of my pool, definitely Bryson Barnes because of how many times he runs. He's Haynes King light, we'll call it. Taking on a Boise State team that's pretty good. Like they're not terrible on defense, but they're also not they're not infallible, certainly. They're capable of giving it up on the ground. He's their leading rusher for the most part. I mean, they're split it in the backfield between Miles Davis and Javin Jacobs, but they utilize those guys out of the backfield too. He is going to be missing his number 1 target. I don't think Pagan's going to play personally. So because I saw that injury live and I did not think it looked particularly good. So I would lean Bryson Barnes being a solid play, and he's got some cheap stack partners. Granted, DK is killing me by putting Garcia, who's their number 2 wide receiver, effectively as a quarterback. So I can't play him anymore. But Garcia, I do have interest in on FanDuel, who is listed as a wide receiver. He does get rushing and receiving attempts. He'll throw some gadget plays here and there. So a lot of interest in him on FanDuel as well. He's priced pretty well there. So he would be a guy that I would target. And then Bryson Barnes, I'll play on DK. I got no issues playing him. I'd price slots in right around the Mestamaker range. I don't mind taking shots on either guy personally. Last guy in the pool, and I'm kind of afraid to do this, but I think I'm going to end up doing it anyway. Like I said, I really like this North Texas Temple game. I don't know how I feel about this at 5,700. There's a guy that we're going to talk about on the Saturday slate that I feel like compares very favorably in this spot. When he faces good defenses, he struggles. He has 24 touchdowns, 1 interception. He's mobile enough to not give me a negative points here, and I think they're going to have to play from behind. So if we look into this, let's go with this mid-stretch, this last 6 games of the season. East Carolina is one of the best defenses in the AAC, so I'm not too concerned about a 1-point performance there. I'm okay with that. He's got super cheap stack partners facing an explosive offense. It just, everything screams like Tulane, good defense. Of course, you're going to get beat up there. Army, decent defense. Of course, they're going to hold the ball and just keep away. So, yeah, that's going to be a low-scoring game. Understood. But then we get Tulsa, Charlotte, Navy. Now, Charlotte's one of the worst teams in the country, so take that with a grain of salt. I feel like the Navy game screams this North Texas matchup. So 27 points. He threw for 345 with the touch, and he ran for a touchdown. I think we could get multiple scores here. somewhere in the neighborhood of 270, maybe 300, probably 15 yards rushing, and like a 20% chance he finds the box in this one. So I think there's 18 points, and value's tough to be had here. So I'm going to jump on Evan Simon. If I don't go Gronowski, I prefer Simon. I think that I'm going to end up building a decent amount of North Texas Temple game stacks, which is going to revolve around Simon and two wide receivers, potentially trying to be able to get me up to those bigger running backs that I want to be able to pay for, because there is not a ton of value at running back position, for my personal opinion. So Evan Simon is going to get the nod as the cheapest option that I'm willing to go to. I think most people are probably going to play like Barnes and up, so it'll be 7,900 to King, maybe even Chambliss. But I'm personally gonna stick to some pairings of those, like Stockton, Mestamaker, Stockton, Barnes, Stockton, Gronowski, Mestamaker, Simon, Stockton, Simon. I just got to figure out which pairings I like the best. But I do really like Temple with a 22-point team total in a situation where they're, a 21-point dog, basically. All right. Looking at the running back position, there's one core play. I think I might hit the lock button. You don't stare a gift horse in the mouth. Mississippi State is a absolute dog doo-doo defense. We saw what Ahmad Hardy was able to do to them. Kewan Lacey probably runs for 150 and 2 in this one at minimum. So at 8K, I don't know that Caleb Hawkins can outscore him, and he's 2K cheaper. Caleb Hawkins projects like crazy, because for good reason. But I'm not fading Kewan Lacey. So if I'm starting a team, and I'm going to play him on every roster. It does not matter what team it is or any team, I'm playing him. I will fade Chambliss. I will fade the pass game. I'm going to ride Kewan Lacey in this matchup in the Egg Bowl. Mississippi State is so terrible against the run that I have zero reason to fade him. And it's a very similar situation for his counterpart as the second leading rusher, or the leading rusher in the SEC. Reminder, Ahmad Hardy ran for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against the same team. And he does not have the same pass catching role that Kewan Lacey has. So I'll take all the Kewan Lacey in this spot. He's the best play on the board for my money. I'm going to start every team with him. It's not close. Excuse me. Top tournament options. I like Sia Bangura a lot more than I think projections and everybody else will, because I know how talented he is. I know he can get 25 plus carries, and I know he can absolutely dominate a team. The man has more than 97 yards in 5 straight games. I think 100 plus and multiple scores is well within the realm of possibility. Buffalo is a solid defense. Fully. It's one of my favorite. I actually loved that team coming into the season. They have far underperformed what I thought they would do, but they're a lot better defending the run than the pass. They're one of the top 40 teams in the country against the run, but I do think the weather's going to be a little nasty up there. So I would be happy playing Sia Bangura, and I think he comes in under-owned by comparison to where he should be for my money. I think he has the capability to be the highest scoring back on this slate, right there with Kewan Lacey. So that's where I would lean. He's probably, that's my kind of stance that's different probably from the masses, personally. Other guy that I believe ends up being a good tournament play, I think most people go to Kamari Moulton or Sire Gaines in this spot. I think Wayshawn Parker has the capability, if he can find the end zone, to be one of those top backs. The matchup is great. I worry about the rushing in the red zone. That is the only thing that I worry about, because he has taken far more of the work share of this backfield by comparison to where we were early in the season. Most of the early part of the season, it was, Nakari Rogers mixing in. It was everybody kind of getting touches. And now it's kind of developed into letting Parker separate and be the top guy. I just have concerns about the red zone work with Bird Ficklin and Nakari Rogers coming in consistently. Dampier will run the football. So, I do have worries there, except, this is one of those teams that gives up a boatload of fantasy points to running backs, and they're not going to have issues running the football. Kansas is not good on that front. I'm open to it. I just don't see a path for him to get 3 touchdowns. I think kind of 2 is his max. Maybe he can push for 30 points, similar to that Baylor game. It is risky, though. I think the floor's high, the ceiling's low. It doesn't have the same ceiling as a Lacey or a Bangura for my money. All right. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Y'all might not have seen this kid play, but he's tied for the lead in touchdowns in I think he might lead the country in touchdowns. Let me check that because I actually am curious here. There's North Texas in my list here. Yeah. He's tied for the nation's lead in rushing touchdowns. And the joke was he's going to look good at Oklahoma State. So, I mean, this is one of the worst, it's one of the not best run defenses in the American. They're one of the bottom 3 to 4 in the conference. I mean, look at the numbers, man. Like 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns each of the last 3 weeks. You got to have some. He's got a ton of upside. The carry counts are insane. 20 plus each of the last 3. So I'm willing to go here, especially in game stacks with Evan Simon. I'll play him. I don't mind playing him with Lacey. It's fine. But it does make me, to an extent, nervous. I think this could be, you could make a case that this is a 2 running back slate. I do like the idea in some teams of paying down at quarterback, paying up at running back, paying way up at running back, and then paying down at, I also like high-end wideouts, but there's some decent low-end options as well. So I'm going to play it a couple different ways here. It's not a singular construction where I'm mixing and matching. I would say Hawkins is in play for me, but I have to be playing Evan Simon to do it personally. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't love him. I would rank it Lacey 1, Bangura 2, Hawkins 3 of the top options, and then Emmett Johnson's 4. I would keep Johnson in my pool. I mean, the guy gets so much work, especially in the pass game. He gets dump offs left, right, and center. He's kind of a walking 25-point floor. He's probably the safer of the outside of Lacey's, the safest option up top. He just doesn't have the ceiling that I think you need, given how well Iowa's kind of played against the run. But I'd keep him in the pool for sure. If you're taking a Boise back, which I think you should consider it, I prefer Sire Gaines personally. He's been getting a lot more of the goal line work than Dylan Riley. And he showed out a lot better. He capped it off last week with that 22 carry performance for $149 and 2 touchdowns. I was kind of on that late slate. Just kind of felt good. They're in just death mode right now as far as the pass game goes. They can't throw the football. They did show some signs of life against Colorado State. This defense is about as bad as Colorado State. It's not a good defense at all. So there's plenty here for him to be able to get there. He's just, I would prefer the ultimate pay up options personally with Parker and the other guys up top. Other guys that we're going to take a look at, I like Siobhan Wright personally out of this backfield. He's kind of taken over for Telly Johnson. He's more likely to get 20 carries in this spot against Kent State. Kent State is not particularly adept at stopping the run. We've got, 86 plus yards in 3 of 4. I do kind of like him here. They do not throw the football. NIU has, I think it's 7 passes or less each of the last 2 games. They can't throw the football at all. So they're just going to run it. They're going to run it with Wright. They're going to run it with Telly Johnson. I prefer Wright from the volume standpoint. He's more likely to be able to get you a buck 50. But I don't love the spot. But if I was taking shots on NIU or Northern Illinois, this would be the guy for me. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Myron. Shout out Sire Gaines. That's right, baby. I love Sire Gaines. He's a beast, man. I think he's in play. I think he is in play this week. We're going to have to talk about Air Force coming up. I got a guy that's my favorite guy, just like Sire Gaines was last week. I got a guy that's won me some money plenty that we're going to have to go over. All right. Last couple in the pool at running back. Really haven't talked about too many guys. I mean, it's mainly Lacey, Bangura. You can sprinkle some Hawkins. I like Gaines, Johnson, but Parker. So it's a couple guys at the top, but we're really skipping a lot of people here. All right. So I don't know what to do with Jay Ducker. We know he's going to be on the field a ton. We know he's going to be in the backfield a ton. I know they're going to trail a lot, but they do throw the ball to Jay Ducker. He runs the football fairly effectively. He can be had for a decent yardage game. He just feels like a decent click at 5,100. So I have interest, but it's kind of like if I'm stuck, I'm interested in Jay Ducker. That's kind of where I'm at with that. Now, we saw what Sire Gaines did last week to Colorado State. I do think that now with Darian Dupree out of the picture, I think Air Force's defense is pretty bad. Lloyd Avant's going to get most of the carries here. I do have interest in him, but like with 15 points each of the last 2 weeks since Dupree left. He even got 15 against Boise. I have interest in Avant here at 4,900. I probably prefer him to Ducker and Siobhan Wright. So I don't mind spending the 4,900 on Avant if I need to get there. Now, the punt play of the day, and you're going to have to bear with me because it's not going to look pretty, I'll be honest. But you just saw what Sire Gaines was able to do to Colorado State. I have long been a Dylan Carson guy. He dominated. The last time I played Dylan Carson, let me see what time it was. Dylan Carson. Here we go. It was last year. I haven't played him all year because Air Force hadn't been on Slate. Pretty sure it was San Diego State. Yep. Let's rock this up or share this tab instead. Right here, boys. Last game of the season last year. Right here. Now, this is the last game of the season this year. So we are 1 year from having played. What's up, David? Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. We are 1 year from having played Dylan Carson the last time we did. Buck 25-2 last year against San Diego State. I just have a feeling. So I'm going to play a little Dylan Carson over here. I think we get 100. I think we get 100 and a touch. Last year, he started out well. He had a 60-something yarder. But what was it? He had like a good touchdown last year to start that game. So I am a Dylan Carson guy. He's won me plenty of money in the past. So I will be playing him at 4,600, even though his projection says he's terrible and that Owen Allen's a much better bet in this spot. I know. Myron, that's what I'm saying, man. I'm salty about it. I'm really considering Taj Bullock. I'll be honest. I'm really considering it. I'm hoping he gets the start over Brousseau, mainly for FanDuel purposes, because Taj Bullock is a good runner. I remember him being at Akron, so I'm pretty interested there. But I do like this. I have minimal interest in this slate. I need to check the weather on this Ohio Buffalo game. We're going to talk about that when I'm previewing it tomorrow, or when I'm making my bigger teams tomorrow. So, all right. Core plays at wide receiver on the old Friday slate here. Number one, and it's with a bullet. He's definitely the number one option of the top bunch. Wyatt Young is the number one of this North Texas offense. If I'm pairing Mestamaker, it's with Young. He's just been on a tear late in the season. came on strong. They were really struggling to figure out who the number one wide receiver was to start the season. I thought it was going to be Miles Coleman before the year began. He's the one who had the big bowl game with Mestamaker. He went to high school with Mestamaker, but he's been relegated. So Wyatt Young has just been on a tear, and last week capped it off with a 300-yard, 2-touchdown game. So I think his ownership is going to be pretty high, given he's 6,800. I'm very interested. You need to be. You should be. Now, Victor Snow should not be priced above Nick McMillan. This Buffalo team is forced to throw the football because they can't run it whatsoever. McMillan is I don't even know if McMillan's going to end up being sneaky. I think everybody's going to be on McMillan. And on FanDuel, he's ridiculously cheap. The scary part, for me at least, is I need to look at this weather in Buffalo because I don't trust weather in Buffalo at this time of year. And I don't love seeing that the weather forecast that I've been looking at on this is 69% chance of rain with 15-mile-an-hour winds. That'll not affect Josh Allen, but it'll affect Taquan Roberson. And that's what I'm concerned with. So I will have interest in McMillan. I do have interest in Young. Young would be my preferred play of the two, but I have a ton of interest in McMillan. I would love to play both personally. And that's where I think those cheap quarterback builds come in because I'm going to end up mixing in a ton of cheap wide receivers. So both of them, extremely good plays. Now, third core play, I think you have to do this. I just don't know how I'm going to get away from it. Noah Thomas is way too cheap. At 3,600 facing Georgia Tech, he's my favorite stack partner with Gunnar Stockton. And because he's cheap, okay, McMillan's projected to be 24%. That makes sense. I mean, I get it. I think on FanDuel, he's a better play. I think he should be 30% on FanDuel. But 24% seems about right. I think that would be. I think I'd be under, depending on the weather, right? Because McMillan in good weather would be, I mean, he's a lock for 100 yards. Kind of hard not to be interested there. But I mean, Noah Thomas, I'm going to have a hard time not doing that and just having these two be in every team and then build around them. You know, he's just such a good play at 3,600 with his touchdown upside. And he has no capability to get open or create space, but he's just playing really well. And he's taken the Colby Young spot, and I don't think we're going to see Colby Young. So it makes sense to just go there. And why not? And then just piece everything around it. He gets me some cheap exposure to that Georgia offense that I think ends up scoring just an absolute boatload of points. And the outside wide receivers have been what has been the biggest issue for this Georgia Tech team that's been getting killed on the outside. So he's my favorite punt. But there's plenty of options down in that 3K range that you can go play. And I think I'm going to end up playing multiples of them so that I can pay up for those expensive wideouts and the expensive running backs that I actually really like as well. Tournament play wise, Rocky Beers is an obvious tournament play. I think you got to kind of want exposure. This offense has been consistently dominant with the tight end position over a number of years. He has 16 or more in four of five. And he's one of the better tight ends in the country, facing off against an Air Force team that is absolutely leaky in the secondary. So if you put me back there to pass, I'm looking for Rocky Beers. It makes sense that everybody else will be too. I think he's a tournament pivot, though, because he's kind of in no man's land at 5,100 in a spot where you kind of want to pay up for another guy that we're going to talk about or pay down ultimately to some other guys in better game environments. All right. Other GPP option. So we're going to go to Utah. We're going to get the number one wide receiver. Because Ryan Davis is out, I would personally go to J.J. Buchanan. He is playing a good amount. I believe he's second on the team in routes run. I mean, Utah wideouts are not going to be a faint at heart, right? He should play be the number one wide receiver. And is it J.J. Buchanan? Yeah, should be J.J. Buchanan. Should double check that I'm right. Let me pull up Utah wideouts because Utah wideouts. I mean, it's going to be spray and pray on this board. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, Buchanan. Buchanan's going to be the wide receiver 1, in my opinion. He's running a ton of routes, and he's got a good amount of receptions, good amount of targets on the season. So I think he operates as the top target in this offense this week with Davis out. Can he get 4 to 6 catches? I don't know. I think you're going to end up wanting to take multiple shots, though. Like Larry Simmons projects better than Buchanan. So is he the guy? I mean, he scored in 3 of 4. So maybe you say he's the guy at this point to take the shot on. I don't think you can go Merriweather. He just stinks. He's been getting too many chances. Whittemore, he's going to be out there. He caught more than double his number of passes last week. So he went 6 for 51, but that was that game environment. It was crazy. Dallin Bentley's going to end up being the safest of the bunch, but I just think I'm willing to take shots on Buchanan if I was going to take shots. I don't think I need to, but that's kind of where I would end up going to. You all know I'm going to end up having to talk about this guy, so I'm just going to talk about him anyway. Zach Branch, absolute dominant force. If I'm going to double stack, it's with Branch and Noah Thomas. The tight ends are going to be in play, but I personally prefer Thomas. If you had to, you could punt with another one of the tight ends, Lawson Lucky, Oscar Delp, but Branch is just a monster of a player. Yeah, Braden Pagan. I don't think Braden Pagan's going to play. I think it looked like a knee bruise or some kind of sprain in that knee. He's out, in my opinion. So I'm not even going to consider him as being playing. That's going to leave us because you also got to remember, I'm pretty sure Brock Lane's out. So their tight end's out. Their number 1 wide receiver's out. That creates value. What's up, Josh? So Brady Boyd's going to be the number 1 target in this offense. Scored 3 straight weeks. Oh, no, all good, all good. We've only just begun, my friend. We are talking Friday night slate or the Friday slate, and then we're going to hit all of Saturday. We haven't even gotten to Saturday. We're just hitting wideouts. But you can rip through the quarterback core plays, the running back core plays, and then we're just hitting on some wide receivers right now. And then we'll rip through Saturday here in a second. So big stuff here is no Lane, no Pagan, as far as I'm concerned. Boyd's going to be your 1. The 2 is Anthony Garcia, who is going to be a quarterback on DK and a wide receiver on FanDuel. He's playable on FanDuel, not playable on DK. So that makes things a little bit difficult. Kahanu Davis is going to be the 3. I do like this play at 3,400. I don't mind it whatsoever. He's not. I wouldn't play it on. Maybe I would play it on FanDuel. I'm a little sick like that. I do have a team with Sturzer because I think he steps in as the starting tight end for Brock Lane. So that's kind of personally where I ended up going on that. And I think that is viable. So I think there's plenty of value here with Sturzer, Davis, and then Boyd being the best 3 of the bunch, even though I worry about Davis because of him being the 3rd wide receiver, 3,400. But it is a Bronco Mendenhall offense. I do like that they're playing at Utah instead of in Boise. So that's kind of my preferred options there. Now, let's go to just this game overall. Because I think there's a ton of great options in this spot, personally. So we talked about Wyatt Young, obvious core play. Cameron Dorner is a great play as well. If I'm double stacking, I want Young and Dorner with Mestamaker because they're the top. They're the 1 and the 2. Very clearly the 1 and the 2. Dorner can get there. Young's going to be the guy who gets there for sure. I called the Miles Coleman game earlier this season against USF. I'm not going to call it again. I wish I could. I can summon Miles Coleman as much as I want, but it's not going to be a thing, even though it kills me. Landon Sides, he was kind of projected to be one of the top options coming into the season. He's on the field a ton. He's just not producing, so I'm out there. I just prefer Young and Dorner. That would be the only 2 I would play. I'd limit it to that. I'm going to double stack them. I wouldn't play Mestamaker with Hawkins either. If I'm playing Maker, I'm playing him with at least Young, probably Young and Dorner, and nothing else. Now, I want this Temple team, so I'm going to play a lot of it. Chase is going to be my top option. He's been the safest option, 5 or more catches in each of the last 3. I think the yardage is going to be there in this spot. So I think that I really like Chase personally. And then number 2 for me is going to be Halloween. Kalijah Halloween, I want to say. Is it Kalijah? I don't have that name exactly. Let me see. Yeah, Kajaya, excuse me. So Kajaya Halloween is going to be my number 2. He's had some big games, big games. But he's also been a little slow lately, but that's fine. But I like these big games he's had in here. And I really expected Bermudez to be the guy coming into the season. He started out fairly okay. He's had some big games. He's not my favorite. I think you can take shots there. He's just not my favorite personally. Same thing with Peter Clark. He's kind of a safe, steady option. I would prefer to play Halloween and Chase first and second, Bermudez third, and then it should be Clark fourth, in my opinion. That's kind of where I would be. So I do love those Evan Simons things, though. Like, I'm going to get exposure to Simon for my money. So let's build out a Maker double. And we'll show you guys how you can make this kind of work here. And a game stack. I mean, you could go full game stack if you wanted. Let's go Chase here. Let's play my guy. Let's play Stockton. Now we've kind of got that. And then I would love to be able to get to the problem is I really want to be able to get here, which is what this is where the bother comes in for me, because I really want to get here to Wayshawn Parker. So then it leaves me with the option that I can do. It's just say, all right, I still think they're going to blow him out. So let's just say, let's go with the blowout angle. I think I ended up playing Barnes on that team, but we're going to end up building some of this stuff tomorrow. But let's just build an Evan Simon. All right. And then let's say we want to play Bangura. And let's get rid of Dorner. And let's go with McMillan. Bang. So that gives me the Bangura McMillan stuff, which I love together. I think that is fantabulous right there. And then that's going to get me into, like, I'll go Bermudez. That's fine. It's not my favorite. He's my third favorite option. I wish I had an extra 100 to get the Chase, but I'm not going to fret over that. And I'm not going to want to change and go, all right, well, I'm going to go Riley or one of these guys. I prefer Bangura so much in that spot. So, like, that would be something that I would build in this space. And then I can mix and match however I want. But that gives me that full game stack capability there. So that's kind of what we're looking at on the Friday stuff. We're going to build that stuff. Obviously, I'll be live tomorrow morning, live before lock, as usual, 9 a.m. Before the games start, checking weather, checking all the injury news and notes, including hopefully I can find out about Jackson Brousseau, mainly for the FanDuel stuff. I'm going to try to come up with some FanDuel stuff. Maybe I might play some FanDuel games, even with Taj Bullock, and then I'll just swap if I need to. I don't know. I don't particularly like the FanDuel stuff this week on Friday. That slate is just disgusting to me. But I'll work on some of that tonight, and maybe I'll make some decisions of stuff I actually want to play. Nick McMillan on that site is absurdly too cheap, though. All right. So, core plays on Saturday for the big boy, the 100K up top turkey hangover. Boy, would that be nice to take down. If somebody can tell me how to not lock button Diego Pavia in this slate, I'd love to hear it. I mean, he's expensive. He's very expensive. But they are trying to get this man a Heisman. And Tennessee is awful. But they are good enough on offense to be able to push this game along. I'd expect 300 plus again and 3 touchdowns through the air. I expect probably another 100 on the ground and another touchdown there. I'd be shocked if he doesn't approach 50 again. 40 feels like a safe floor. This is peak Johnny Manziel. He's got the attitude of Manziel. He's a better, I'd say seems like he's more controlled in that sense, but the man is an absolute beast and he's a core play. And I don't know how you get away from it. So he's definitely in there and he's going to be in there a lot. Exactly. Brother, Pavia is expensive and he's not even expensive enough. I mean, the fact that Caleb Hawkins is 10K and Pavia should be 11 more than likely. Like even then, I'd still play Pavia. I remember Johnny Manziel in that Duke Bowl, in the Chick-fil-A Bowl against Duke in the Peach Bowl. He was 13K or like 12.5 or 13K on Draftkings. You do not see 10K players on Draftkings. The man was like 12.5 or 13, still played him because it's too easy. And he was with that wide receiver Ryan something or another. And I mean, you just rack him up, just load up on his crappy weapons. Like Pavia's got crappy weapons, you can load up on them too. Like they are expensive enough that you got to consider it. But still, that game environment is insane. So game stacks of that one, I'm ripping them left, right, and center. Connor Weigman is in that conversation mainly because Baylor's trash and he's going to get 15 to 20 carries. And like, you ain't wrong, Myron. You ain't wrong. Weigman is going to get 15 to 20 carries against one of, if not the worst run defense. I don't think so. All right, now you got to make me look it up. Duke versus. See, now I got to look this up because it's going to bother me. It was Ryan something another. And I remember it was that little white wide receiver. Peach Bowl. I remember this game. It's 52-48. He did have Mike Evans, but Mike Evans went 4 for 72. The guy that I'm referencing, because Mike Evans was too expensive, guys. Y'all know Mike Evans is too good. The guy I am referencing was Travis Labhart, who went 7 for 76 and 3 in that game. And I had him stacked with him. And by the way, Manziel, look at this kid. I mean, come on. If that ain't Hunter Renfrow before Hunter Renfrow, you just imagine that man wearing jeans, a cowboy boots, and a cowboy hat. It just fits him perfect. But I'm telling you, look at what Manziel used to do. 382 and 4 with 73 and 1. Y'all don't think we're getting that out of Pavia this week? I mean, come on. We're going to see. Look, underrated, by the way. You see who Duke's leading receiver was in that game? Jamison Crowder. Whew, he was a fun play back in the day, too. Fun play back in the day. So, Weigman, though, Weigman's going to run for, I mean, this feels like 100 yards on the ground. Like him and Pavia together could score 100. I mean, 80 feels light. Like it feels like appropriate that they're going to drop 80, and you can still build a team around those two. So I will be playing those two together at points. We played Weigman last week. He is legitimately Haynes King light, very similar, except for I think he actually has better weapons on the outside. I like Tanner Kojual. I do like Amari Thomas. It's kind of really the only guys he uses. But yeah, I do like Weigman. So I'll be interested in Weigman because I think his rushing upside is through the roof against a Baylor team that barely can stop a nosebleed on the ground. Final core play, and I referenced this when I talked about Evan Simon. I'm a glutton for punishment, it seems, this week. I like this play better than Evan Simon. You see me keep scrolling. I don't think Penn State's particularly good. So I'm going to go to the Greek Rifle this week. I might have made him the cover boy, actually. I don't remember if I made him the cover boy again or not. But he was the cover boy against Maryland a couple weeks ago. Dropped 25. He was 6,700 then. Yeah, of course he sucked against Ohio State. So let's take out the Ohio State game and the Oregon game. That's two of the better defenses of the Big Ten, right? We know he's got weapons. So let's take those 2 games out. You telling me at 5K you're not pumped about, let's take this Big Ten games. 27 against Iowa, 27 against Washington, 27 against Purdue, 25 against Maryland. Yeah, I'm kind of ignoring the 13 against Illinois. You got to pick and choose your battles, people. I'm hoping y'all just ignore that game. I'm hoping you ignore the 14 against Minnesota, even though that was a revenge game. But still, we know he's not going to run for any yardage. I just don't know that is Penn State markedly better on defense than Washington or Iowa, where he put up 27. Myron, I love my Houston stacks. Big fan of Houston. I love the triple, and I like including Dean Connors. You give me Weigman, Connors, and like Amari Thomas. I remember when that was a cheap stack. I used to get that for like 6K each, and Amari Thomas was like 3K. I love that stack. That was my best stack earlier this season. My best call earlier this season was playing that stack. What was that? What game was that? That was the Oklahoma State game. Yeah, I triple stacked the Oklahoma State game, and that was nobody was on that. Nobody was on that. But I'm going to play the Greek Rifle. At 5K, give me the Greek Rifle. I'll put him in for the sake of this exercise, because I do think he's a really good play. And there's some really expensive running backs that I do want to get to. And there's some really good wide receivers up top, but I'm willing to go cheap at wide receiver. I really want these expensive backs. So, Derrick Henry, that's a freight train moving, boys. That is a freight train moving. So, that's kind of the thing at quarterback. Like, I want to pay up for Pavia. And then how much is too much Callie McManus for me to stomach? So, those are my 3 core plays, though. Pavia, Weigman, Callie McManus. I think they're great plays. Points per dollar wise, Callie McManus looks good. You just got to hold your nose and see what you can stomach there. So tournament options for me. I mentioned I like this Pavia game. I think it shoots out. I think Aguilar is a tournament option. Why? He can get to 30. Do I think he gets to 30? Probably not. But if we end up with a Georgia-esque game, it's possible. He had 5 touchdowns in that game. He ain't running much. But this Vandy defense is so bad. So bad. It's playing terrible. It's just Pavia's will to win is getting them there. So I am interested in game stacks here. It's not my favorite. I prefer Callie McManus. I prefer some other guys around him. I prefer Weigman. I prefer probably a couple other guys that I'm willing to stack in there. And I might not get there, but I will have some of it because I'm playing the 20 max. I'm going to try to do some full game stacks of this one. And Vandy is bad against the pass, good against the run. We're also going to make sure we fit Tennessee wide receivers in this one, mainly because Vandy's that bad against wide receivers. Other players in the pool. I'm just going to go over 2 guys. Or no, actually, sorry. Missed the other GPP play. And he's a GPP play. This 6 weeks ago, this would be a core play. Point blank. 6 weeks ago, this is a core play. But he's playing so terrible that Josh Hoover has to resort to a tournament option at 6,600. I think you can play 1 quarterback lineups tomorrow to fit in Hawkins and Lacey. I don't think you have to. Here, let me show you. We'll show you. So I have this in right now. Let's just say we go away from this. Let's say we go there. Let's say you don't want to play that. Let's go Hawkins. Hang on, I could show you this because I could tell you I already know I can do it because I've done it. I don't even think you have to go off of let's go Chase. I don't even think you have to get away from anything bad either to do it. So like you could easily do it with you can even do it with Stockton, and you can go actually, yeah, I'll show you exactly how you can do it. You can go Stockton. Now you have your Stockton Thomas stack, and you get the top two options for Temple. So you can do Temple double stack, bring back with Hawkins, and you get Noah Thomas with Gunnar Stockton. You get Lacey, and then you get Nick McMillan, who's one of the better values on the slate. Boom, done. There's your lineup. So that's an easy way to do it. Another way to do that is, let's say you wanted to go away from Halloween. Let's say you were fine with Chase being your best option. Let's say you still like McMillan. Then you can still go Mark Gronowski, and that leaves you 6,500, which gets you Sire Gaines. Bang. So there you go. There's two ways to be able to fit Hawkins and Lacey together without having to play one quarterback. So very easy to do, which I probably should have written that stuff down. Now I'm going to end up having to watch that back, and because I'm going to end up playing those two teams because I don't know why it just comes to me. So anyway, Hoover, though, like, look at the start of the season, 32, 39, 35, 27. Like, we know it's in there, but over the last 3 weeks, or the last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks, he has 3 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. I mean, I guess you can play him, and I think he's a great tournament pivot. It projects pretty well. I like him as a tournament option. I'm going to be willing to take shots. Now, if I'm taking shots, I'm playing Eric McAllister, which is the crappy part because now I got to pay for Eric McAllister, especially with Kovori Barnes out. So, yes, I'm going to look at it. No, I don't love it. But, yes, I'm going to be playing some Hoover just because Cincinnati, not exactly the pinnacle of reliability on the back end, we'll say. So I do have plenty of interest in Josh Hoover. I probably would say I prefer him to Carson Beck, although I will play some Carson Beck doubles in 20 max because I think there's some good options to play him there. And I mean, Cincinnati gives up, a decent amount of and the thing is, he's thrown 7 picks in the last 3 weeks. Cincinnati has 2 interceptions on the season. So are you really concerned about that? I don't think so. I'm fine playing Hoover. If you want to play Hoover, I think it's fine. I think he comes in under-owned compared to the spot we're kind of buying low on a guy that we shouldn't be having to buy low on personally. Other players in the pool, I'm going to throw 2 guys out there. I've tried to get it pretty tight. Like I said, I'm willing to play Carson Beck, but I'm not going to put him in the pool. Brendan Sorsby, similarly, I think the game environment's very good. TCU, not particularly great on defense. The Ravens keep turning the football over. You know what today was? You all should have parlayed, because I bet Green Bay earlier today, because that felt too obvious. A parlay of Cincinnati, Green Bay, and Dallas. I mean, it's all the dogs winning on Thanksgiving. Where's a turducken with 19 legs when you need one? I mean, Sorsby, I don't want to pair him. That's the problem, I guess, is I don't like his running backs. I think they kind of suck. I think he doesn't run enough to justify the price tag. And I don't think his wide receivers are good enough to access a ceiling game. So what am I doing if I play Sorsby? That's why he's just in the pool, but I always feel bleh about him. He projects very similarly to Weigman. I just don't see avenues that he's better than Weigman. Weigman's getting 20 carries. Weigman has the same passing upside. Where is Sorsby accessing that upside? I don't know. I end up talking myself out of this. Like, I keep thinking, I prefer Young over McMillan, but the problem was in that specific lineup, McMillan fit. So that's all. I prefer Young to McMillan in a vacuum if I have the 100. Yeah, I know. You ain't lying. Yeah. So, yeah. The last guy that I'm going to say is in my main pool. It should be Castellanos probably because I think there's a chance Florida quit. But I'm playing that game through 2 guys, and that's it. I'm willing to take this chance. And it's a chance. But Arkansas, I have concerns about Taylor Green. Just if you're planning on playing Taylor Green, there's some talk that they might not play him. That's why he might end up getting benched for the other kid, and he was banged up. Yada yada yada. I'm open to playing Bo Pribula. So I thought he actually looked good last week against Oklahoma. That defense is really stout. So I understand that he only threw for 231, yada yada yada. He wasn't really mobile, whatever. We're going to talk about the guy his backfield mate in the running back section. I think Pribula is one of maybe the best pivot in the whole slate. He's 6,100 facing Arkansas, who stinks. Can I access a ceiling game? Is he better than Kaliak Manis? Is really the question. Is he better than Hoover? I thought Pribula looked great. I watched that game. It was on the main screen. I didn't have anybody in the game. It's one of the few games that I watched that I did not have a DFS interest in. I thought he looked really good. So I'm interested in Pribula in this spot. At 30-point team total, I don't know that Arkansas gets to that 28-point team total, but I will play Missouri taking on Arkansas defense that I don't think is very good. And Pribula, I don't think enough people are going to play Pribula. So I want to take some shots here. I think he's an extremely sneaky play. Probably comes in at sub 10% ownership because everybody's either going to go Hoover or Kaliak Manis, if I was to guess. They either full punt for 1,100 less, or they go up to Beck or Hoover. Myron's reading my mind. He loves to jump ahead of me. Myron loves to jump ahead of me. I love Myron. Myron's all over my thoughts. He's just starting. We're becoming simpatico here. I love it. So running back wise, there's 3 core plays, and y'all are probably going to say I'm scapegoating on this because 3 of the top guys. Katron Allen is going to be a core play. He's number 1 on the slate. He's facing a Rutgers team that absolutely sucks at stopping the run. It's right up there with Mississippi State as one of the worst teams in the country. And the man's got 25 carries 2 weeks in a row. If he gets 25 carries, I mean, let me see. I got to find that stat real quick because it was a nutty stat that I saw from Rutgers' run defense. What was that stat of their run defense? It was something like they gave up 10 yards a carry last week. I got to see it. Let's see. All right. Rutgers is the worst run defense in the Big Ten. Knew that. We just talked about that. So each of the last 5 teams to play Rutgers has rushed for at least 200 yards. Maryland and Oregon averaged over 10 yards per carry in each of those contests. So he's hard not to click with good reason, but there's also a good reason why he's priced up here. So I like him. I don't, he's my 3rd favorite, probably price adjusted of the top guys that I'm going to talk about. Second core play is basically Keywan Lacey, except for he doesn't catch passes. But the matchup's still very good. Arkansas is the 2nd worst run defense in this conference. And I don't know how you don't click Ahmad Hardy if you're not clicking Bo Pribula. Now, I think you can't. I don't really want to play both of them because I don't think Pribula is really going to take the rushing production from Hardy. But he's also not going to throw the football to Hardy, so I don't get the backdoor passing, rando passing touchdown, from a quarterback stat here. So, but Hardy is my number 1 back on this slate, and it's not close. He's not the best projected. I can tell you that right now. But I think 100 yards and 2 touchdowns is basically a lock. So yeah, he projects for just south of 20 from my projection. But even then, I would say 25 is probably where I would expect his floor to be. Kind of where Katron Allen should be. Very similar. Now, the 3rd guy at the top, you would think would be Cameron Dickey or Bo Jackson. Maybe Deshaun Bishop. Nah, man. Y'all know me. You should know me by now. Look, I understand. He hadn't had a 30-point game all year. Okay. He gets all of the work. He might be, based off of me watching this Tennessee Florida game last week, the only player on this team, and definitely from this Florida Kentucky game, the only player on this entire Gators roster who hasn't quit. I still say he's the best running back in the SEC. I stand by that. I think he's better than Ahmad Harvey. I think he's better than Keybon Lacey. I think he's also in the worst situation that you could possibly be in on this offense with a quarterback that's overhyped and that's just terrible and overrated completely. But Jaden Ball can catch the ball. He's probably their leading wide receiver at this point. And he is a absolute menace on the ground. And I don't know that Florida State hadn't quit at this point. There's no guarantee. I know Florida has. But I also know that Jaden Ball can overcome it because I've seen it for 3 weeks in a row where they have quit. So give me Jaden Ball. I know he's going to get me 20. And he has the upside to get me 28. I mean, he did it against Mississippi State because everybody does it against Mississippi State. But still, I think 20 points feels really good. I think he gets the 3X here. So it probably lends me to saying that I definitely prefer Hardy to Ball. I probably prefer Allen to Ball, but it's a 50-50 thing. But for me, if I have the salary, I'm going Allen. But most of the time, I'm not going to have the salary, so I'm going to go Ball. But they're the 3 core options at the top. And it's not particularly close for me. Now, Cameron Dickey is obviously going to be the tournament play. I think it's there. We've seen a 45-pointer out of him. I just have too many reservations. I think the floor is 20, but I have too many reservations taking on a West Virginia team that I think they just steamroll. And I don't know that they need him, so they're probably just going to try to get out of here, be healthy, and go home. So I probably don't end up playing much, if any, Dickey. Probably 10% buddy. You know how much I would kind of appreciate that, but we still do have this rivalry, Myron, where UVA is afraid to play James Madison and they just want to play Richmond and William and Mary, which is just might as well play the Miller School for Deaf and Blind that's right down the road. Oddly enough, you would know that I know that, and I bet you know where the Miller School for Deaf and Blind is off of 64 right there on the right hand side. But still, I think that's 64. I haven't been there in 20 years or 15 years. I think you need to play these guys and at least play Hardy. But if I can jam Hardy and Allen, I will. If it has to be Hardy and Ball, so be it. I'm fine with it. I think I'm going to end up fading Dickey. I know I'm going to end up fading the other guys above them. I'm moderately open to these two, but I don't love them. It might be one of those situations if I'm stuck, I'll go there. So rest of the guys in the pool, though, for me, I think Connors has to be in the pool. I don't particularly love him because he's been splitting too much work with the backup running back. That's right. Hey, man, we won like 13 in a row against in-state teams. It's all good, buddy. It's all good. So, yeah, I think Dean Connors, he probably should be a tournament pivot because of the matchup. But the backup's been getting too much work, and I don't think you see Dean Connors get 20 carries. I think he's just an ultimate pivot off of Wiegman. I just don't particularly want to go there, in my opinion. Singleton, I think, is live for 2 touchdowns. I just don't particularly want to trust it either. He is explosive, or allegedly. If I'm Bob Chesney, I go to Penn State 10 times out of 10. I would never touch that UCLA job. In reality, if I was UCLA, I would have hired Jim Mora back personally. That's what I would have done. But they were stupid and let him go in the first place, and that led to their immediate downfall over the long haul, particularly under the Chip Kelly experiment. So last three guys in this pool, and I hate the bottom end of this pool this week, guys. I'll be honest. I debated even Mark Fletcher, but I just think that matchup's terrible. Antoine Raymond, I think you have to consider on a pure volume standpoint. I don't love it, but I like the price, so I'm willing to consider it. Given that he's 5,700, I think this turns into probably a two running back slate where you pay up for two running backs and then you just play four wideouts. Personally, it's just kind of the way it feels when you start looking at the guys down here. We're just at a serious lack of value. Like even like I can't trust Muhammad in this spot. I don't think. I don't think Jonah Coleman plays much. Maybe he trots out there a little bit, but I doubt it. I was tempted by Xavier Robinson. I'm still tempted by Xavier Robinson. I just don't trust him one bit. Let me see if I have anything on Xavier Robinson here. Let's see. Yeah. I might end up considering Xavier Robinson. I'll be honest. I'm flip flopping on this one because LSU's kind of been had on the ground a little bit lately, and he's kind of the only one getting carries for them. He's catching some balls. I don't know if he can get there. I just don't like that game. I might consider that. We mentioned Kavorian Barnes is out. So that kind of opens the door for Jeremy Payne to lead the backfield again. He had 18 carries for 100 yards against Houston. That's actually a pretty good total given the team that they faced because Houston's much better against the run than Cincinnati. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Myra. That's what I'm guessing, though, is I think Raymond is in play. Because, I mean, he even played pretty well against Ohio State. And I am an Antoine Raymond fan. Going back to when Kyle Monin guy would be out, I'd play Antoine Raymond, you know? So if I can get, like you said, if you can get that that floor of the receiving work, it's in there. And he had 52 yards, against Ohio State. Still dropped 12 points. That's a tough matchup, man. I think Jeremy Payne is interesting. Him and Xavier Robinson would be the two cheapest guys that I'm willing to consider below Raymond. And then there's one absolute punt stinker. And this is why I'm not sure if I want to play Jeremy Payne. So John Denman is their freshman running back. You can see he didn't get much work early in the season. Hardly at all, actually. He's the guy who popped out of nowhere against BYU for that rushing touchdown. So 7 for 45 and then 11 for 37. Can he get me 10 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown at 4K? And would that do it? I don't think it gives you, I don't think it's the piece that wins you anything at flex. But it might be the piece as a second running back that wins you something. Because it allows you to play a different variation at running back. I don't know. All right, wide receiver. I think the smart play here is something like that. Granted, it's a lot of money to spend here, folks. It's a lot of money to spend here. But I think that's the ultimate, the starting point. I do agree with you, though. Playing Raymond makes a ton. If I'm not playing Calic Manis, I think I'm going to have to play Raymond or one of those 5,100 backs in this spot because I'm basically flip-flopping Calic Manis for whatever quarterback that I'm paying up for. So like Wiegman and Raymond is basically what I'm going to have to flip-flop. And now I'm like another 1,000 down, though. So that's where you're going to have to start playing a lot cheaper. Right there. But you can do it very easily. That's probably what I'll end up doing. All right. Wide receiver wise, things are fun here. I got two core plays because a lot of this stuff's going to depend on what quarterback I'm playing. So I agree. So Myron brings up Mike Washington. I have a really hard time with that click. I understand the click because he's played really well and he gets all the touches. And he's a good play. It's just such a hard click for me to make, man. I mean, I know I faded him against Texas, and it was probably the wrong decision because of his pass game usage. I don't know. Let me see what Missouri's so good against the run. Missouri is so good against the run. I mean, Texas is a better run defense than Missouri, right? It's slightly better. I mean, man, he's been targeted. He has 5 or more targets in 3 of the last 5. Maybe I just have a blind spot for Mike Washington. Maybe I need to get rid of that. Let's think about that. Myron, you might sell me on this. So here's what I'll tell you. So let's just go in this range. We'll make it a range, right? Here's the question. So from here up, where do I prefer him? Let's just say I had 6,800 left, because obviously if I have 7K, I'm playing him. So let's say 6,900 or less. Do I play Bo Jackson or Mike? I probably play Mike Washington over Bo, Coleman, Connors. Maybe I play him over Connors. I probably play him over Singleton. Davison for sure. Reed, I think, is out again. Fletcher, yes. Williams, yes. Turner, yes. So then that becomes a question of, I think Bishop's the tough one for me because I do like Bishop a good bit. But I think it's viable to say that Mike Washington's the best play sub 7K until you get to Raymond at 57. So I would argue, it does make sense from a range standpoint. If I ended up at 6,400, 6,500, 6,300, somewhere in this range, I probably just play Washington. You're probably right. That's a good question. See, this is why this is good for me, because now I'm considering this. I think Mike Washington does make sense. Let me put that in. If I play, I think the problem I'm going to run into is I don't like playing 2 running backs from the same game. And let me see what his projection is, because I have it. I just don't know where I feel about it. I was adding. I don't want that. Let me see here. 17 points at 6,200, roughly. Yeah, I mean, he's right in play. He's right there with Antoine Raymond from points per dollar. Yeah, I think it's a blind spot for me. I don't want to play him with Hardy. That's the thing that's keeping me in a blind spot, right? Because I don't want to play him with him. That's where it makes it tough. So, because I don't like playing 2 running backs from the same game, but I understand if you played him for sure. Yeah. All right. 2 core plays at wide receiver. Deuce Robinson, for sure. Sorry, guys, it's a long mega show because I got 2 whole slates I got to go through here. So you're getting the full hour-and-a-half version here. Deuce Robinson paired with Jaden Ball is an awesome stack, a game stack in there, because they're just Deuce Robinson, outside of the game he got hurt against Pitt, has been an absolute animal for the past since I don't know, the UVA game. Like, he's been insane. So give me all the Deuce Robinson. I think he gets over 100 and another touchdown. I think 24 to 28 points is very viable in this spot. So I wouldn't be shocked about any of that. Oh, Chase Brown, get loose, son. So yeah, I would say I'm really in on Deuce Robinson. He's a core play for me. He's the best option at the top of the board for my money. Personally, if I can get to him, I will. This is not a lineup that I feel confident in getting to him. If I was playing Jaden Ball right here, I would play Deuce Robinson right below him. No doubt about it. Second core play, and I think this guy's going to end up getting featured probably too much in my teams. A little bit afraid of it, but I'm going to do it because I don't think Pitt is so good against the run, and I think Miami's going to struggle in this game. So Miami's going to have to take to the air. Now, CJ Daniels is back, and obviously Malachi Tony's a heck of a good player. He's a fun guy to watch. But CJ Daniels has played 0 snaps and 4 snaps the last 2 weeks. Keelan Marion is by far and away the outside starter in this team with 77 or more receiving yards in 4 straight games. They refuse to price him up. So we're going to take advantage of it. I'm going to have a very difficult time not lock buttoning Keelan Marion. Marion with Hardy is a very difficult thing. Very similar to Lacey and Thomas. Is very hard for me to get away from. So I'm going to be extremely overexposed to Keelan Marion. And if Keelan Marion gets nothing, I'm going to have a bad day probably. Keelan Marion has a really good day, which he should, because his by projection, he blows the doors off of every single player on this slate. So I'm going to have a lot of Keelan Marion. And look how much it opens that salary up. I mean, we went from 4,800 to 3,400 or to 5,400 in a hurry. So Keelan Marion, core play for me. Core play. Because now it gives me access to 3 5K wide receivers, and that gets me excited. Don't take that the wrong way, please. All right. Top GPP option. And by the way, just because I'm on the Miami topic, I will play Carson Beck double stacked with Keelan Marion and Elijah Lofton. He's caught a touchdown each of the last 2 weeks. Remember when we were all in on that Eli Raridan thing against Pitt? Pitt is the worst team in the country at stopping the tight end. And Lofton's caught a touchdown each of the last 2 weeks. So at 3,400, I much prefer Marion because of the upside. But I have no problems doing Lofton and Marion with Beck, hoping that Lofton catches a touchdown, Marion somehow goes for 100 in the touchdown, and Beck throws for 303 touchdowns. It's I'm willing to take that chance. I think it's kind of a fun way for me to be able to pay up for some high-end stuff because you can do some fun stuff when you do that because now you got two $3,400 wide receivers paired with the quarterback. So I will be doing that a little bit. All right, top GPP play. Myron kind of spoiled my thunder. Kevin Coleman Jr. The resurgence was real last week against Oklahoma. 7 for 115. We know he's a PPR merchant. Arkansas sucks against stopping the pass, the run, everything, basically. I really do think you could get a 25-point game here. He could get 10 catches in this spot. 7 for 109. He has a 7 for 115. He's got a 12 for 108. He's got a 10 for 126. I think we could see that again. So at 4,700, I have no issue going here. And I love pairing him with Pribula. He's definitely the only guy I'd pair with Pribula personally. But I do love that spot, and I will take a couple shots if I'm in this range of pairing him with Hardy. It's not my favorite way to play it, but I will do it if I just happen to be there because I don't want to get overexposed to that Missouri offense, but I'm willing to take shots. I'm not going to go out of my way for Coleman, but I do think Coleman has a ton of upside. Man, Chase Brown is such a good little player. I actually had the optic gold vinyl of Chase Brown in the offseason. Managed to sell it off. Got a good price for it, though. Got it cheap. Sold it really expensive. All right. Other guys in the pool, we mentioned him, Eric McAllister. Look, as much as Hoover has struggled, McAllister has still been a monster with 103 of his last four. I think you could push for, I mean, his target total was down last week. He only had 4 for 79, but they were kind of force feeding Joseph Manjack last week due to the he went to Houston narrative, the revenge game narrative. So I think McAllister's in play. McAllister could easily go for 200 in this spot and 3 touchdowns. He could easily do what he did to West Virginia, to Kansas State. So I think paying for him, he can also do what he did at SMU potentially. So Cincinnati, not a very good pass defense. I'm perfectly happy. If I play Hoover, I have to play McAllister. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't love the fact that I'm going to have to waste all that salary. Oh my goodness, they just stole the football. That's a big. So yeah, so I'm in on McAllister. He's the one guy at the very top above Deuce Robinson that I'm willing to kind of jump up to go get. I don't particularly love the Ohio State guys because I think that game gets played in a phone booth. And then Tony, I'm fine paying up for. Tony's so good, but I don't want to do it. Let's just put it that way. I'd prefer to just take the cheap Miami options. So Robinson's kind of where I want to go unless I'm playing Hoover. All right. Weigman wise, I think you got to keep Amari Thomas in the pool. He is a stud. He's a guy that I've been playing a ton of for the past, I don't know how long, mainly from Oklahoma State on from that $3,200 day. So I'm in on Amari Thomas. More than happy to play him. So yeah, I think he's a great option if you're going to pair Weigman up. I don't think you need to pair Weigman up, but it's nothing wrong if you want to reach up here and go get him for me. Looking down, all right, let's just hit all of Tennessee in one shot so I don't have to talk about all of them separately. The Tennessee wideouts, and we'll hit Vandy right behind it because that makes complete sense. Staley is your slot wideout. I think he's a very good play. I think he's more of the PPR option. I will have shots on Staley. If I have the money, I prefer Staley probably. Brazel's your big play option. He's going to catch the ball down the field. Outside of the Georgia game, he's kind of been meh. So, I guess Mississippi State is pretty decent, and Kentucky, not bad. He just does it more on deep plays. So he has the ceiling. I love. I like that. Yeah, I'd play that. Yeah, I got no problem with that, Darren. I think it's a great team. Yeah, you get Pavia, Hardy, Ball, Coleman, Robinson, Marion, Sadiq, and Beck. You're just printing money. You're printing money there because we're about to talk about Kenyon Sadiq too. Kenyon Sadiq's a freak. I love Kenyon Sadiq as a player. Long term, that kid's going to be amazing. What I will tell you is don't take this the wrong way. I heard this comp, but I do agree with it. Kellen Winslow Jr. So Kenyon Sadiq, as long as he doesn't go on I'm a soldier rant, I feel pretty good about it long term. So I like Staley. I like Brazel. Have no issues with both of them. I'm open to Mike Matthews. He's just definitely the third favorite option of the bunch. I'll say that. I prefer Staley. I prefer then Brazel, then Matthews. It's definitely in that order for me. Definitely in that order. I feel like Baltimore just needed to run the football with Derrick Henry more tonight, and they just decided not to. That was just stupid on their part. All right. Let's go Vandy wide receivers. I know Stowers has these big games. Perfectly aware. And I know Stowers is the very simpatico with Pavia because they both came over from New Mexico State. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying, Myron. It's there, bro. It's there. You can put some sick stuff together with those cheap Miami guys, especially with pairing with Beck. It's kind of fun, especially if you think it works out. So I'm not particularly going to play Stowers at 6,500. I'm kind of out there. I know he could burn me, but it's too much. Cheryl, is probably my favorite of the bunch. He's really come on strong lately, gets a little bit more of the target volume, and has shown plenty of ceiling in these high scoring games. And then Richardson, if that's what you got money for, he had the big game last week. I prefer Sherrill overall, but if it's Richardson you can get to, then it's Richardson you can get to. So I have no issue going to Richardson. Yeah, Stowers didn't do anything last week either. So, or didn't do a lot last week. I just prefer one of these two or both. Now, I will tell you my 2:30 afternoon lineup that I built, my dummy lineup. I needed a $3,100 player and I shoved Cole Spence in there. So I did put this in as a punt option because he does split time on the field. When Stowers comes off the field, it's Cole Spence who comes on. So he's on the field a good bit running routes. So I do like Cole Spence, especially because they play a lot of 12 personnel with Richardson, Sherrill, Stowers, and Spence. So I do kind of like Spence as like a full on punt, but I think I got another punt play that we're going to end up getting to here in a minute. All right, let's just rip through the other guys that I have some interest in. I notice I'm pretty much fading this Texas Tech West Virginia game. I think it's just a slop fest. All right, pit wise, if you're playing anybody, my opinion would be to play Kenny Johnson. I don't think I'm going to end up getting there, but he's definitely the best. Good gravy. The Ravens can't hold on to football. I should have played the Bengals defense in DFS today. I ended up playing some Ravens D, thinking that maybe they'd be able to get some sacks and Derrick Henry would run the football. But 5 turnovers for Baltimore. Bengals D looking pretty good. And Lamar playing like doo-doo. So is Zay Flower. I mean, how do you fumble that? You got 2 hands on the football, brother. So anyway, Kenny Johnson. Look, I think he's a pretty good player. If you're going to play anybody, the only way Pitt's moving the football in this one, if you expect Pitt to win this game somehow, which I bet it because I think it would be funny if Miami lost, and it was good value. Kenny Johnson is going to be a big part of it because outside wide receivers are what have gotten them, and they don't give up much on the ground. So Kenny Johnson would be the best play for those guys. Personally, if I was going Arkansas and bringing something back outside of the Mike Washington, which Myron's now convinced me of, or Myron has managed to plant a seed in my head to get me to convince myself that I should recommend Mike Washington, and which somehow has now worked, and I've got him in my head now. So Raylan Sharp has come on really strong and looks to be the number 1 option in this offense. Omega Blake stinks, so check him out of your box. I would take shots on Raylan Sharp here. I have no issue playing this. If you wanted to go full game stack and play Mike Washington, Raylan Sharp, plus all the Missouri guys, I'm fine with that. I just don't think it doesn't feel like a shootout game. Oh, Arkansas, Missouri's the game where I had Brady Cook last year and he ran for 100 yards in the snow. That's what it was. Remember, he was cheap and he had the hand injury. That's what it was. I was trying to remember what this game was last year, and that's what it was. Okay. But yeah, so Raylan Sharp, I do have interest there. 60 plus, 4 straight weeks. I think I like the value at 4,300. He's a good cheap wide receiver for sure. I'm ignoring LSU, Oklahoma completely. We talked about those guys. I'm not even going to talk about Cincy's wide receivers because they're a mess. Let's talk about Kenyon Sadiq, as we should. So long as all of these wide receivers are out, Kenyon Sadiq is the number 1 option in the pass game. They're taking on a Washington team that's pretty stout. They need to win this game. They lose this game, they're in deep, deep trouble. So I think taking shots on Sadiq is very smart at 5K. Tight ends tend to get pushed down too much, especially when you consider that Sadiq's probably going to get 8 to 10 targets. And outside of Pitt, Washington's one of the worst pass defenses in the country against tight ends. They're nowhere near Pitt, by the way. They're still like 10, 12% worse than Pitt, or better than Pitt is even. Like, that's how bad Pitt is against the tight end. But I mean, man, like, Sadiq looks great right now. So I think you have a hard time getting away from guy getting 8 to 10 targets right now. Multiple touchdowns. They scheme him open. He's got 23 plus in 3 of the last 4, and the matchup is immaculate. So I think Sadiq is a fabulous play at 5K. He might be a guy that gets featured in this lineup. We know we're getting a Tennessee guy, so it's just a matter of who else we're going to fit around him. Kind of want to fit Mike Washington now. Now you got me really messed up in the dome. All right. No, but I got to fit a Rutgers guy and a Tennessee guy in here. So I think it's going to mess me up a little bit. So I may end up with a Raylan Sharp on this one. All right. Or maybe even a Vandy. I want Tennessee. Yeah, I'll probably go Tennessee Rutgers because you're going to need some Rutgers. Speaking of Rutgers, let's talk about them. It's going to be the last team. Well, hang on. I got to talk about one other guy. This guy is going to be the second most talented wide receiver on the field in the game. Andrew Marsh is a freak. I've been talking about him for since the Wisconsin games when I first started talking about him. Or after Wisconsin. It was against USC. I was like, hey, check this kid. This kid's nasty, man. So going forward, this kid's going to be good. This is a very tough matchup. I don't think this game shoots out. If you did think this game was going to have some points in it, I think single stack, like little doubles of Marsh with Bo Jackson makes sense. But I'm probably going to end up avoiding Michigan and Ohio State completely just because I think the likelihood of the shootout there is extremely low. So there's only 2 options for Rutgers for me. DT Sheffield's on the field all the time. He's in the slot. I don't like him. I just don't think he's a great player. I think he was fine at Washington State. I think he was very good in the system that is North Texas, but I do not think at Rutgers, he's not a featured option. It comes down to Strong and Duff on the outside. That's where Penn State struggles to defend the most. I prefer Strong, but I have no issues with Duff. Strong has more ceiling for me. I think he's a pretty dang good player. I think 100 yards is well within the possibility. Duff, he's not far behind. He has the big game against Purdue, but other than that, he hasn't been as consistently as good. So I prefer Strong if I'm taking a shot. Oh, see, this is what we're going to end up with a lot, though. It kind of knew what I was thinking. So you're going to end up with a lot of Callie McManus doubles. That's not what we're doing in this spot, but thank you for reading my head, DK. All right. One punt option that I'm now considering because I was reading some stuff. So one punt option I'm open to. I need to see is Danzy. So Danzy's playing. He played. So where is the other kid out? Is what I need to find out. McCoy. Is he out again? Nope, he's healthy. Never mind. No, that was against Virginia Tech. I need to kind of look into this a little bit more, but Boggs got the start last week. He got the start and played a good bit. He's 3,100, and he had 4 for 56 a week ago on, I think it was 6 targets against NC State. So I do have some interest here if I was punting at 3,100 and I didn't want to go Cole Spence, which is why I might end up switching that. Because I might end up switching it to Javen Boggs. I need to talk to my buddy who knows some FSU stuff. I actually, you know what? I have an in there. I forgot about that. I used to work for Florida State, for goodness sakes, or for one of the fan sites. So I need to talk to them. Let me shoot a text to that guy. I'll shoot a text to him in a little bit. So I'll have an answer for that before Saturday morning on Javen Boggs, because I'll hit up my contact at Florida State and I'll find out about that. Because if he's going to be in the lineup and starting again at 3,100, I will have a ton of interest. It'll help me access a lot of stuff in that spot for sure. So I think that works out pretty good. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the wide receivers. Let's throw this thing, the rest of it together. We saw what would happen if we threw Duff in there. That gave me 4,800. That's when you go Kevin Coleman and you just lock it up. That's no issue there. Otherwise, we could go Sadiq. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we could easily just do that. Let's just do that for the lulz. Let's go Kenyon Sadiq And why does it keep giving me these random clicks? And I want a Vandy player. Let's just ignore Tennessee for a second. You can go Trey Richardson there. Otherwise, if you weren't going to do that, you would need to probably go down to Duff. And if you went down to Duff, what is he? Because if let's just say we wanted a Vandy player, a Tennessee player, and a Rutgers player, how do we make that happen? It's I would gain 400 there, which would get me. Yeah, but see, now I can't get there. Or I could gain 200. Yeah, see, that's the problem. I can't get there with this team. So anyway, so this is kind of the way I would end up building probably because I can lean into Pavia's running. Or you can come off strong, go to Duff, and then gum off Richardson and go to Brazel. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with that if I wanted to do it. I could go Duff here, and then I could go Brazel if I wanted. Razzle Brazel. But I would prefer the Richardson because I don't think you need to do that, So I would definitely would prefer the strong Richardson side of this. Even though I prefer Cheryl to Richardson, I think it's fine either way. So yeah, I mean that would be kind of the initial build. Obviously, playing around if you get off of Katron Allen, go to Jaden Baugh, or get your Antoine Raymonds or things like that. Mike Washington, even now that Myron's got my brain in pretzel over here. So anyway, yeah. So you guys got sorry for the long-winded response. I'm thinking through all this stuff because I've been trying to work through it. I am going to start building my Friday stuff, and I still got to run FanDuel and try to see if I even want to play any of that stuff. That is such a terrible tournament. Like, I'll show you all exactly what I have right now since I got it up. I got Taj Bullock in here. Like I said, I'm just waiting to see if that happens with Lacey, Bangura, Branch, Rocky Beers, McMillan, and Stockton. It's kind of where I'm at right now. So I'm debating that. I also think I kind of like what's his face here, Marcel Reed, because Texas is kind of poo poo. But what I was saying about the quarterback situation here, if you're going cheap at wide receiver, Anthony Garcia at 6,400 is kind of their gadget guy. So I do kind of like that. And then I like the 5,200 play of Kahanu Davis. He's going to be the third wideout, and that's going to be their number one tight end this week, Josh Sturzer at 4,800. So there's some value in that pass offense for sure, even though Bryson Barnes at 10.8 is a perfectly acceptable play. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been trying to figure out. I don't love anything on FanDuel. That's why I'm kind of just waiting to see and decide if I'm going to play FanDuel or not. I don't know. Taj Bullock kind of is going to make a big difference for me. So anyway, all right. I will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, going over the live before lock stuff. And so, yeah, so I'm going to start building right now. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning. I would say good luck normally, but yeah. No Friday night. I'm going to see you tomorrow morning, baby. I'm going to see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, live before lock, baby. I got the streams all set up for the week. So we're going to get a morning stream tomorrow before the slate when I'm going to build my big stuff. And then I'll build the big stuff again on Saturday morning. We'll get two morning streams now that I've got player pool all built here. So, and I just logged like hour and 45 minutes worth of me throwing up thoughts. Good night, everybody. Nice to see you all in the evening. It's good to see everybody. I don't normally get to do this. Normally I have to do it in the morning. So best of luck in sleeping, I guess, because normally I'd say best of luck in the slate tonight, but it's already over. So I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. We're going to have a day, baby. It's time to get after that 100K this weekend. Let's go.